And I got the honor to bring up my friend Bre. Bre came into, yeah, you can clap for her now. She's already crying. We love her. So Bre came into Purpose House. If those of you that are not familiar, Purpose House is a residence here in Sarasota. And so she came into Purpose House in 2019, and she was like 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other, and did such an amazing job. I was lucky enough to be able to help her stay inside the bumper guards, for lack of better words. She was one of my baby birds, and I got the pleasure of helping her in her first couple of years of sobriety, and now I'm her sponsor, which I've been for the last year, I think. So that's awesome, and she's still connected. She still comes to our Thursdays, most Thursdays, and then she's here on Sundays as well. Most Thursday. Well, stuff happens. So we just want to welcome Bre up and listen to her testimony.
I love you. Oh, boy. Thank you. All right, guys, bear with me. I'm really nervous. Hi, my name is Brianne, and I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ, and I'm in recovery from drugs. I have 5 years of sobriety. Definitely something I never thought that I would see. So I had a great childhood and didn't want or need for anything. I was truly blessed as a child. Looking back to my younger years, I can see all the lies, manipulation, stealing, and my attitude towards everyone and more. That shows me today that I was an addict before the drugs even became a part of my life. I was put into teen court for stealing an $8 ring from Walmart, and even though I got in trouble, it didn't sink in at the time, because I thought I was invincible. What was it like for me? It was chaotic, more lies and manipulation, more of hurting others no matter who they were, continuous stealing, insanity, being a chameleon, and so much more. I don't want to go into too much detail of the turmoil, for the majority of us in this room know what it was like out there in our addictions. It was different for each of us, however, it was similar at the same time. I was raised with a Christian background. We went to church every Sunday. I was taught through communion what the blood of Christ and the bread of life meant. Even though I was raised that way and learned about Jesus and what he did for me, I still strayed away from him. I was real big on that. At the age of 19, I started down a path of trials and tribulations that I continued on until I was 31. And I blame God and a lot of other people for that. And that was tough. It's taken me a long time to realize, my actions were my actions. It didn't have to do with the situation that I was going through. It didn't have to do with the people in my life. It was me. I tried my first drug at the age of 19 when I didn't know how to handle what was happening. At the age of 21, my parents divorced, and I used that as an excuse to go down a path that was dark and full of sin. And I completely shattered those relationships with the people that meant the most to me. I got my first set of charges at the age of 26 when I decided I could steal my grandparents' jewelry and go pawn it. At the time, I couldn't believe my family pressed charges on me. However, if I get completely honest with you and myself, my family could have pressed charges on me many times over before that. I didn't take that arrest. I don't know. Right. Thanks, Todd. I didn't take that arrest and sentence seriously either. I continued to live my life the way I was without a care in the world. At the age of 27, I got arrested again for dealing in stolen property and fraud false ownership to a pawn shop. Clearly, I didn't learn my lesson. I was first introduced to AA while I was in jail that time. My first thought listening to the girls was, oh, I'm not like them at all. I'm not an addict. As I continued to listen over the next few months, I started to think, hey, maybe I am like them. Not as bad off, but I'm still like them. And that was like a pivotal point for me. From going, thinking like, you guys are horrible people, like I don't know what you're doing, like I haven't done that, to having God bring that realization that I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a liar, I'm a thief, right? You know, all those things that I did for so long that I didn't want to look at. After that time in jail, I didn't have anywhere to go because I had burned all my bridges. The one person that I could always go live with was my mom, and she said absolutely not. So I remember Miss Lisi talking about how the Salvation Army had the 101 release program, and I went to the Salvation Army and I stayed there, and I had the option of either stay there for 3 days or get into the program and stay there for however long. And I decided to go into the program. I was also in drug court, so they court-ordered me. I started getting semi-honest with my counselor and others in my class, but definitely not 100% honest. I didn't want anyone to know everything about me and have that leverage over me. While in the program, I met my now husband. I commenced in October and went into Purpose House. While living in the homes, I didn't have a care in the world to follow the rules or even pay my rent. Andrew commenced in December, and I moved in with him within a few days. A lot of my past trust issues and character defects were brought into that relationship and almost severed it. Shortly after leaving Purpose House, we relapsed. Mind you, I was still in drug court, and that didn't even faze me. By May, I was arrested again with a few more charges, bonded out, and in June, drug court was like, haha, you're going back to jail. I went and sat for 2 months for my new charges and was court-ordered to Purpose House. I didn't want to be there because they were telling me I couldn't do this or I couldn't do that, and I still did it. It was always my way or no way. What sick thinking, right? I then lied to drug court and told them all this bad stuff about Purpose House. Now, mind you, Purpose House is not bad. But that was just my addiction speaking. I didn't want to be there. I knew what the end result was going to be, so why don't I lie and manipulate my way to getting what I want? I stayed clean for a while after leaving Purpose House. However, I was still living a dirty lifestyle. I finally completed drug court and relapsed again. However, I still tried to portray I was in recovery by going to meetings and picking up clean time, knowing darn well I wasn't clean. What insanity. I think back on that, right? And because I know there's multiple people that have done the same thing and just don't want to get honest about it because they don't want people to look at them differently or whatever the case may be. But I look back on that and it is just a disgusting thing that I could sit there and let newcomers think that I had all this time when they were the most important person in that meeting, when I'm actually sitting there and I'm high, picking up medallions. They're looking up to me like, oh, she's got 18 months? Like, that's amazing. I can do this. And it's not a good feeling. In 2018, I went back to jail, and this time I was so angry with myself that I was sitting back in jail. However, this time, locked up truly changed my life and is what has led me to the life I have today. I had always escaped going to prison. However, this time the state wasn't having it. They offered me 48.5 months and never came off that. I was so defiant this time around and so heartbroken. I ended up in lock for 10 days for getting a tattoo in the recovery pod. Don't do that. During that time, all I could have was a Bible, paper, and a pencil. This is when God sat me down and I came back to him in the lowest point of my life. I spent a lot of time in the Word and started to semi-understand it. I had always struggled with that in the past. While in the Word, I found my forever verse. Proverbs 16:33 out of the Life Recovery Bible. It says, "We may roll the dice, but the Lord determines how they fall." For me, that meant God determined that this is what's best for me because I couldn't stop gambling with my life. And today I don't want to gamble with my life anymore. After being in lock, my heart was shattered in a way I had never felt when Andrew and I broke up. Back then, I wasn't willing to look at he was doing what was best for both of us. However, today I see that. I ended up having to go to prison for a little over 5 months, and that changed my life also. I saw crazy things I don't wish on anyone, and there is where I got a sponsor and started getting completely honest. It was new to me, and it was also relieving. I asked Kelly if I could come back to Purpose House after I got out of prison in First Step, and she said yes. So that's where I went on community control. The third time was the charm for me. Going in this time, I had a completely different view and willingness. I didn't want to die. When I came back and I owed a lot of money and made a commitment to Kelly and Alan to get that paid off. I followed the rules. I came in not knowing anything because nothing I knew before helped or got me anywhere. I completed community control and stayed for 18 months. After a year of being in the house, I became a house leader, which was a huge accomplishment. I never thought I could be trusted that way, and I was. I then started to help Kelly with intakes in the phone while she was away. I love being given that opportunity. I got to see the clients come in and watch them grow into the new ways of their lives. Andrew and I got back together, and I then moved in with him. November 11th of 2020, we got married. It was one of the best days of my life. We have built a thriving remodeling company and have a relationship in life that we no longer want to escape from. In February of 2021, we lost our unborn child. This is one of the darkest times in our life while in recovery. I didn't know if we would get through it. That pain, the shame and guilt, and the feeling of inadequacy almost took me out. I kept asking why because I just didn't understand what I had done so wrong to go through that. However, with God, my husband, the relationships I made with the women in the rooms, the women in the Novus house, and the work I had done internally saved me. We made it through that and now know no matter what happens in life, good, bad, or indifferent, we can walk through it without throwing ourselves back into the darkness and chaos we lived in for so many years. Life is not easy and has thrown a lot at me in the last 5 years. However, God, the steps, Andrew, my sponsor, Celebrate Recovery, my sponsees, family, and the friends that I choose to call family today have held me together, and for that I am forever grateful. Today I'm a wife, a business owner, a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a confidant, things I never thought that I would ever be again. But this program taught me how to change my thoughts and my actions so that I could be all of that. I am so grateful for the restoration of the most meaningful relationships in my life today. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. I still have character defects that come out and cause pain that I continue to work on to become better daily. One thing I can say to all of you is, no matter what life throws at you, you can get through it. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other, reach out, and lean on those you trust. Keep doing the next right thing. Thank you.
I'm on. What a great testimony. I don't know about anybody else, but I was tearing up. Oh, and I helped Bre walk through that. And so, so that's great. What Bre didn't say was that she did both sets of steps, one through NA and one through AA. And we still visit those today when we need to. And so her desire to get to stay clean and sober was she did anything and everything. And just like she said, she was my assistant for some time, which I'm truly grateful for. And she's always there for me if I need her. And so, yeah, we need each other, right? Right, Bre? So before I call Lisa up, and Lisa and Bre are going to do the chips, I want to give Bre her 5-year Celebrate Recovery chip.
I love you. Yeah.
All right, Lisa.
I love you.
Still, Lisa, why isn't this working?